Welcome back. The Election Commission on Friday announced the schedule for assembly election in Jammu and Kashmir. Assembly polls in J&K will take place in 3 phases, with the first phase on September 18th, second phase on September 25th, and the final phase on October 1st. The counting of votes will take place on October 4th. This will be the first assembly election in J&K after the abrogation of Article 370. The CEC also updated on all the preparations that have been undertaken for a smooth election in the Union Territory.
हाल ही में जम्मू कश्मीर और उसके बाद हरियाणा की चुनावी तैयारियों का जायजा लेने आयोग हमारे सारे सहकर्मी वहां गए थे और एक बहुत ही नायाब किस्म का एंथुजियाज्म और डेमोक्रेसी के प्रति एक ललक और पार्टिसिपेट करने की इच्छा सबके अंदर दिखाई दी। जितने लोगों से हमने बात की, सभी पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज से, बहुत सारे लोगों से भी, सबकी एक मतलब एक ललायक एक इच्छा थी कि जल्दी से जल्दी चुनाव हो। तो हम आपको जो उम्मीद और जो यकीन पैदा हुआ था 2024 का, उसको आगे बढ़ाने के लिए आज आपके सामने है। जम्मू कश्मीर के बारे में पहले जिक्र करूं तो आपको याद है कि मतदान केंद्र पर जो लंबी लंबी कतारें लगी हुई थी, वो जमहूरियत की ताकत का एक बहुत ही बेहतरीन मंजर पेश करती थी। वो सिर्फ लंबी कतारें नहीं थी, वो आवाम की उम्मीदें थी, जज्बातों और उनके मुस्तकबिल की नई तस्वीर लिखने की एक ख्वाहिश थी। J&K में टोटल 87.09 लाख इलेक्टर्स होंगे, जिसमें लगभग ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल 44.46 लाख मेल और 42.62 लाख फीमेल वोटर्स होंगे। बड़ी अच्छी स्टोरी ये भी है कि जिस तरीके से यूथ ने पिछली बार भाग लिया इलेक्शंस में, इस बार उसके बाद फर्स्ट टाइम वोटर्स भी होंगे अराउंड 3.71 lakhs.
Now let's also take a look at some of the political reactions that came in from Jammu and Kashmir after Election Commission's announcement, because many people actually thought that the election in J&K will not take place. But what happened was the election in Kashmir is taking place, election in Haryana is taking place, but election in Maharashtra and Jharkhand will be held separately.
मैं सिर्फ इलेक्शन कमीशन से ये उम्मीद करूंगा, जो बहुत जरूरी है, कि लेवल प्लेइंग फील्ड सबको दें, सब पार्टीज को।
डॉक्टर साहब, क्या आप चुनाव लड़ेंगे?
इसमें क्या आपको कोई शक है?
उमर साहब नहीं लड़ेंगे?
वो नहीं लड़ेंगे। आई वॉन्ट टू फाइट सोलो। आई वॉन्ट टू सी वेयर वी स्टैंड। इट इज नाउ डिपेंड ऑन द पार्टी व्हाट दे वांट टू डिसाइड।
ये पहली मर्तबा है कि इतने कम अरसे के अंदर और इतने कम फेजेस में इलेक्शन जो हैं जम्मू कश्मीर में कराए जा रहे हैं। जाहिर सी बात है कि पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के लिए ये एक नया तजुर्बा होगा, लेकिन मैं नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की तरफ से इतना ही कह सकता हूं कि हम पहले से ही इस दिन की तैयारी में लगे हुए थे और बिल्कुल फौरी तौर हम अपना इलेक्शन का सिलसिला जो है वो शुरू कर लेंगे। इसके साथ साथ इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया की तरफ से अभी जो मैं उनका प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस सुन रहा था, उन्होंने फ्री और फेयर पोल्स पे बहुत जोर दिया। उन्होंने सिक्योरिटी को लेके किसी तरह की पॉलिटिक्स नहीं होनी चाहिए, उसका जिक्र किया। तो मैं फौरी तौर इलेक्शन कमीशन से गुजारिश करना चाहता हूं, हम उन्हें एक चिट्ठी भी भेज रहे हैं आज, कि लगातार पिछले 24 घंटे में जो बेशुमार यहाँ ट्रांसफरें हुई, इलेक्शन कमीशन को उनका फौरी तौर जायजा लेना चाहिए।
मैं तो इसका स्वागत करता हूँ। देर आयत दुरुस्त आयत हमारे यहाँ कहते हैं कि देर से आया, बट चलो फिर भी एक कदम तो लिया, वरना एप्रीहेंशंस बहुत थी। जिस तरह से गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, होम मिनिस्ट्री, पार्लियामेंट के अंदर एक वादा, पार्लियामेंट के बाहर दूसरा चीज़ होता था। चूँकि जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग कहाँ हैं और बहुत ही मतलब इच्छुक है कि किसी न किसी तरीके से यहाँ असेंबली बननी चाहिए और वो अपने लोगों को चुन सके, अच्छे नुमाइंदों को चुन सके, जो उनको डे एंड नाइट अपने तकलीफ़ात को सुने। ये मच अवेटेड था तो आज अनाउंसमेंट आई और 3 फेजेस में जो उन्होंने कहा 18, 25 और 1 तारीख को यहाँ अंजाम दिया जाएगा, 4 तारीख को काउंटिंग होगी। मेरे ख्याल से इसमें सुप्रीम कोर्ट की भी एक डायरेक्शन थी, जो पहले से ही कमिटमेंट थी कि सितंबर के आखिर तक जम्मू कश्मीर में हाउस बनाया जाएगा। आज इलेक्शन कमीशन ने अनाउंस किया। मुझे लगता है जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों के लिए जमहूरी तरीके से सबसे बड़ा खुशी का दिन ये है, जो शायद लोगों को लगता था कि अब जम्मू कश्मीर में चुनाव कभी होगा नहीं।
In this section, I am joined by Vipin Pabi, senior journalist, Javed Beg, social activist from Kashmir, and Ajit continues to be with me. Thank you all of you for joining me. So, first question I'll take to I'll ask Javed Beg first. Javed, when Article 370 was abrogated, people felt that the new politics would come up. But the Lok Sabha elections, very successful, has also reinstated other reality. Older political parties will be the main player, whether it's BJP, PDP, Congress or National Conference.
Thanks so much, Kartikeya, for bringing me on your show. A very important show, I think. Post abrogation, this is first assembly election. I must say, after 2014 assembly elections, this will be the first election for assembly polls in J&K. So I would like to congratulate Election Commission of India, who took no time to implement the directions of Honorable Supreme Court. I am sure, cutting across political ideologies, people in J&K are very enthusiastic and have welcomed this announcement of Election Commission of India. The way ECI conducted Lok Sabha elections in Jammu and Kashmir, very smooth, not a single incident of violence, no law and order as it used to be. We have seen it in last 3 decades. But the credit goes to the people of J&K, especially to the youth of Jammu and Kashmir, who took a different, and next level participation in this, much awaited elections. As all of us are well aware, our country is a country of elections. I think every 3 or 6 months we have an election in some parts of our country. So elections for us is no less than a festival. Similarly, Lok Sabha elections were celebrated all across our country, but were celebrated with extra enthusiasm in J&K. In my north constituency of Lok Sabha, Baramulla constituency, youth took part. That was seen for the first time in last 3 decades. I'm sure, in this local assembly elections, you will see huge youth participation.
Okay.
I can only say
that it should happen, must happen, and we would all look forward to seeing this. Let me go across to Mr. Pabi. Mr. Pabi, elections are happening in J&K, but there is also another state called Haryana. How would you sum up elections in Haryana and J&K, because now Maharashtra and Jharkhand are not happening? These 2 states are going in for elections. What do you think in terms of political trends?
Thanks, Kartikeya. Thank you very much for having me on your show. First, a little bit on Jammu Kashmir, because it's an historic election that is going to take place, and there appears to be light at the end of the tunnel. People have been waiting for a very long time to have elections in Jammu Kashmir for the assembly. The Lok Sabha elections came out very well. I mean, very smoothly they were conducted. There was no untoward incident. And now even the major political parties like National Conference has also shown its eagerness to contest this election. So it is high time that these people from Jammu and Kashmir come into the national mainstream and have their own elected government. So I think this is a very good sign, and I'm very sure this time also there'll be a lot of participation, particularly of the youth, and that will be a great sign for Indian democracy. Coming to Haryana, now that is another very, very interesting election that is coming up, and more so because BJP has completed almost its double term, and before that it was Congress who had done 2 terms government in Haryana. But this time the stakes are higher, and what the indications, what the poll results in the past, in the last few years are showing that the Congress is on the upswing, and BJP had been losing. It reached its peak in 2014 when Lok Sabha elections were held, as well as assembly elections were held. But during the previous elections, its stock had been declining, and in the Lok Sabha election which just finished, both Congress and BJP took 5 seats each out of the 10 seats, Lok Sabha seats that they have. So very interesting election is on the horizon. And what remains to be seen is that how Congress is able to rest back, provided they're able to close their ranks. That is a major problem with Congress in Haryana. There are 4 or 5 contenders for the chief minister's post, and they make no bone about it.
Okay,
so
Mr. Mr. Pab, very quickly, because you spoke about Kashmir, terrorism is a challenge, security is a challenge, but why has Kashmir failed to produce new class of politicians? Older political parties, why do they continue to stay there? Because if you look at what Ram Madhav was trying to do, it has not borne fruit.
Correct, Karthik. In fact, I think the youth were not given much of a chance since elections are being held after quite a gap. But I think this particular election is going to throw up certain a section of youth, future leaders. I am very, very sure that because they haven't got that kind of an opportunity. Of course, they had these panchayat elections and all. But this assembly elections is going to throw up quite a good number of local leaders, and I'm sure people in Jammu Kashmir, they are looking for new kind of leadership.
Okay.
And I think this election is going to be
both Jammu and Kashmir has thrown up a lot of surprises. Ajit, I mean, it's the same state where Umar Abdullah loses election, Engineer Rashid can win election. So what's your take on J&K?
Absolutely. Excellent question. First of all, let me point out, 10 years Jammu and Kashmir did not have an assembly. So for that reason, excellent, choices are for the voters to come out. In the Lok Sabha polls, we saw the kind of turnout. So it's a very positive step. Secondly, as you rightly pointed out, it seems like the BJP, which actually had an alliance government, along with PDP for almost, I think, 3 years, right? That government lasted, but somehow they did not make a dent into politically, and as a result, it seems that it's the traditional political parties, National Conference, PDP, Congress, and others. But I think what is one looking forward to are the new players. The old players have become too old. There's been a gap as well. They have proved a failure. After all, Mr. Farooq Abdullah, was the one who, from where that, if you remember that famous election, where a lot of rigging had taken place, it was back in, I think, 1989. That's where the entire Kashmir problem had begun. So these are, has-been leaders. Obviously, one is looking forward to newer leaders coming from the grassroots, maybe possible newer parties. So for that matter, it's very important. The other big challenge in holding an election in Jammu and Kashmir, why it is 3 phases, is because we have seen the kind of violence, terrorist attacks in Jammu particularly in the recent past, right? In the last 2 months, we saw so many of our Jawans being killed over there, officers as well. So I think it's going to be a serious challenge.
Okay.
Haryana, on the other hand, is just a different kind of election. Here, the BJP's, there'll be almost a referendum on the 10-year government that they held. It will be whether it will be pro-incumbency or anti-incumbency.
Okay.
At this moment in Haryana, it seems from all the pre-polls and other suggestions that the Congress is on the upswing, but until the election is held, until the campaign begins,
proof of the pudding is in eating it. So proof of the pudding is in eating it. I'm really run short of time. Thank you so much. We could have had a longer conversation, Mr. Pabi, Javed and Ajit, to you. But I think the broad outline is that yes, finally there is an election in J&K. It's going to be an interesting election in J&K. The challenge is security. We have had some good run in Lok Sabha. But I think what is important is the people must have a sense of empowerment through this election. I hope that the J&K Assembly should not turn into what's happening in Delhi. I mean to say, आप और बीजेपी की लड़ाई में दिल्ली जैसे पिस रहा है, वहाँ between the political parties and the LG, I don't think the Kashmir Valley should get squeezed in. What we see in Delhi, I think that's where the proof of pudding would be. That's where the success story would be.